All right, welcome back to another episode of Brilliantly Resilient Live. We're all laughing and cheering because we made it online.
We made it on.
In today's online world, everybody's on. So we're glad that you all are here online watching us on Facebook or hearing this later on YouTube and all the other platforms and the podcast now. We're absolutely everywhere. So we are going to jump right in because we have a guest that is, she's incredibly busy, even though all of us have stuff shutting down all over the place, and has some great nuggets of stuff about being resilient as a person and resilient in business today that we're going to talk about. So Jen Crompton and I actually met, maybe 2 months ago at the most, at one of the last events that I actually was out seeing people in the world.
Right.
We were both speaking at a young women's leadership empowerment at a high school, a private high school right near me, right down the street from my house, actually. And I was so enthralled with Jen's speech because she talked about, well, first of all, we were both soccer players, grew up soccer players. Yeah. And so immediately I was like, oh, Mary Fran would love her.
Because I'm so sports oriented, as in not.
She's definitely not Sporty Spice.
No, I am not Sporty
Spice. Spice Girls.
Or I'd be Snarky Spice if they had one of those.
Spice. At any rate, and Jen had an incredible presentation about how you grew up in sports, and then that set the framework of your life, and dedication and schedule and being at the top of your game and all that. And now the industry that you're in the fitness industry, and I don't want to give away your whole story, but people, she launches this business and had a 9-month-old at the time, or you were pregnant with the baby?
He was 9 months old when we opened.
Wow.
Really, I know, right? I'm like,
Yikes.
oh my God. And did it magnificently, and working with your husband too, right?
Yes.
It's like all the things that people go, I can't possibly do this because I have a baby. I can't possibly do this with a spouse. I can't possibly. And you make it all happen. That's why I know this is going to be a great episode today. So that was my big intro that had nothing like what you sent me.
I like it. It works.
Welcome to Kristen Smedley's Wild Ride. But Jen, thanks so much for joining us on the show today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and chat with you guys and give you guys maybe some thoughts and some positivity, because everyone can use that right now, right?
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely, right? So take us back to your business is not, how many years have you been in this business?
About 4.5 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're still kind of feeling your way, and we're just coming, into the next phase of it, I guess, past all the newbie stuff. Tell us what your fitness studio is called.
Yeah. So it's called Fuel Cycle Fitness, and we are in Ardmore. And my husband and I live in Havertown. So we're like 10 minutes from our studio.
Oh,
and
that's a nice, easy commute.
Yeah. Yeah. Right now, although we don't really have to commute, but, we opened about 4.5 years ago. Like I said, my son was 9 months old, and we focused on indoor cycling and boxing. And it really kind of came out of the fact that prior to having my son, I was boxing, I was doing cycling, I was doing yoga, and I was going to all these different studios. And I taught at LA Fitness cycle classes, and they just weren't that high quality because the leadership wasn't there, and it was like hit or miss. My classes were great, but others weren't so great. But I wanted to have a membership at one place where I felt like it was non-pretentious, it was comfortable, but the classes were top of the line. You were always going to get a great class, and it was clean, but really just like a place for anyone to go of any level, any age, shape, or size, and just feel comfortable getting a good workout.
Awesome.
Well, it's really funny that you say that, because I am not sports oriented or whatever, but I do like cycling. And I have to say, I have been experiencing such rage over the last however many years for various reasons. But I've actually thought about boxing, because I just always thought that would be I did a lot of the, what was that stuff years ago? That guy who did the Taibo stuff. And there was
Billy Blank.
Yes. Yeah. And there was a lot of that, the kickboxing stuff and all that. And I enjoyed those workouts, but I never really did them in a class. So I really like the combination of the two things that you're doing.
Yeah, well, pedal and punch is our signature class. And so that's 30 minutes of cycle and then 30 minutes of boxing. And that
Oh,
was
wow.
really like the premise of it from the very beginning was we felt like cycling and boxing were two very complementary exercises. And because we wanted to have families and couples come to the studio, we're like, listen, if you don't like boxing, you can just cycle. If you don't like cycling, you can just box, or you can force your spouse or significant other to do the one that they don't like with you because it's only 30 minutes and you guys will both get through it.
Yeah.
So that was kind of our approach to it from the beginning.
Yeah, I love that. And I mean, clearly I don't have wells of rage, but I do think that people
Really?
do, well,
Think? Did you want to
but
poll the audience?
I do think that that release of aggression, you know, especially now in times where people are really afraid. And that's one of the things that you kind of deal with and talk about, right? Like the fear aspect.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, when we first started our fitness studio, like I said, I wanted to build this community. So I wanted it to be a place where it wasn't just like you came in, you got your workout and you left. I wanted to be able to get to know people and offer them resources and connections to other members and all that fun stuff, but without being like in your face and annoying about it. Because I was like, look, if you just want to come in and get your workout, that's fine too. But if you need something, we want to be here for you. And what I've kind of learned, like being in the fitness industry and just like taking classes and being an instructor, was that, people often come to fitness for something besides fitness, meaning they'll start doing a fitness regimen because something's going on in their lives, positive or negative. And they really want to make a change in themselves. And so they look at fitness and they look at it as a way to feel better about themselves. So, but again, a lot of people get concerned about being in a class and other people are going to look at me and I'm not going to know what I'm doing, or I'm not going to look like everyone else. And I didn't want people to feel that way because that deters them from doing something that could be really positive for themselves and their bodies.
Mhm.
And we do get a lot of people that want to come in to punch things, and I'm like,
That would be
great,
great.
right? These bags don't punch back, so you're fine. You can do that.
It's a safe punch, safe way to
Right,
punch.
exactly. And it's also mental. So when you're doing boxing, we do a class called Boxing and Beats, which is not actually punching things; it's cardio boxing. So similar to that Billy Blank, but it's mental because you have to listen to combinations, you have to memorize them, you have to move, and it like for me because I am all over the place, as scattered brain as anyone could be. In that hour where I'm teaching the class or I'm in the class, I am totally focused on where I am and I'm totally focused on being in the moment, and everyone else is too. And so like right now when we're doing our virtual classes, I really think it's giving people that, 60 minutes of an escape from everything that's going on. And it
Yeah.
just allows them to be present in the moment, doing something good for themselves and feeling really good about it.
I love that. And I love that you can tell from everything, and we'll get into the next part of your story, what's happening now, that you really do believe in building it as a community. And what you're reminding me of is, Mary Fran, when we talked with Kev a couple weeks ago, he did the same thing with his brewery, like a little hometown brewery, and he just approached it like a community. And they're still through this mess, doing it as a community and still keeping their following and their fans and all that. It's just, I think it's a very important thing to note in terms of business, even in your personal life, when you approach stuff as giving to a community and making it more of that type of feel, the success that you'll have. Even, I mean, we're all taking the sucker punch now. You're not going to avoid that, but how you come through. So let's go into a little bit of that, because you've had to, I mean, in your whole life, you've been resetting and rising. But now let's talk specifically about how you're doing that through this. I mean, everybody had to shut down. And then what did you guys choose to do in your reset?
Yeah, so so I remember because we were like in the studio that Thursday, which was the 12th, March 12th. And I guess it was, yeah, the 12th. Either way, it doesn't matter. The point is we were there because my son's birthday was that Saturday. That's why I was trying to do the math. But we were at the studio and like, we heard what was going on and that we might have to close, and everyone was asking us, they're like, what are you guys going to do? Like, how am I going to survive without my workouts? And I was like, we don't even really know what's going on in the world right now. Like, we're just trying to process it. And then the governor had the mandate to close, and then people are like, well, are you really a studio or a gym, or like, what can you get around it? And my thought process was, well, we're going to pause because I don't know all the answers. And instead of, getting into something that could get people into a mess, like having everyone's germs come in. Like, I didn't know enough about it that I didn't feel comfortable having people come in knowing that that could be causing a bigger problem. So my husband and I just said, finances aside, business aside, we have to do what's best for our people, for our community, and for us. And so we were like, okay, we'll close, and we'll take a couple days, and we'll figure out exactly what we're going to do. So so we closed for that Friday, that Saturday, Sunday, and over the weekend, I was like, we're going to do virtual classes. People have been asking us to do these. And whatever, I'll just figure it out. I'll use my computer. I have enough like random gadgets around the house I've never used before. So let's just figure this out, and we'll start doing virtual classes. So that Monday I did the first virtual class, and I had about 50 to 60 people sign up for that class and show up that morning to take it.
Wow.
So,
Holy cow.
And I would say, like, it's funny because my whole life I've been in the mindset of like, just do it, right? Like, what's the worst that can happen? No one shows up, the music doesn't work. Like, I've been through all of that. All those things can happen, and they're all fixable, right? So it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But what I was trying to do was be there for our community. Like, working out is normal, right? If you're into it, every day it's a habit, it's something that you do. So when your world's flipped upside down, you scramble to find something that can give you consistency. Yeah. So for me, it's just as important because it's something I do every day. It's part of my purpose. It's what gives me life. So, I figured if I can do this once a day, at least once a day, I can bring everyone together. I get to see their little faces on my Zoom screen, which I love. I get to hear their voices. And so for all of us, it's that one normal hour of the day. I was saying that, I talked to other fitness professionals in the industry who were like, I don't know if I can do virtual classes, or it's just not really my thing. And I'm like, well, I don't think it's my thing, but it was what I needed to do. And I wasn't scared to try it. I wasn't nervous about it because I've done plenty of other things. And again, like, what's the worst that someone could say in this situation? Like, oh, she tried to do fitness classes and they didn't work. I tried is what mattered, So it's not like people are going to be very judgmental right now. Like, there's no expectations. But if I didn't try, then it would be like I abandoned my community. And I don't even know if other people would look at it that way, but I would. And, I felt like a leader in our space. I felt like a leader in not only the studio, but in some of the things that we've done with our community outside of the studio. That, this is the time, I think, when leaders step up, right? This is your time to lead forth with whatever you have. And you either, will step up or you'll retreat. And it's not right or wrong. It's just based off of however you feel and what you want to do. So I just was like, I think this is my moment. I was meant to do these things, like to get into these situations and sort it all out. And, I think one of the most important things right now is the fact that we've all been challenged to do something that makes us feel uncomfortable. So it could be being still, like being in our houses, teaching our kids, like whatever it is, we all feel uncomfortable because it's not what we're used to. But we would never have tried these things if we weren't put in this situation to be uncomfortable. So like I said, virtual classes, people had been asking me for a long time, but I was so busy doing our regular classes. So I was like, you know what? Okay, I'm forced to do this. This is great. It's going to make me be more creative. It's going to challenge me, and I'll figure something out. If it doesn't work, it doesn't, but then I'll know that it's not something that works.
I love your mindset, because how many times in all of the growth seminars and the books and all of that, all the personal development says you have to get out of your comfort zone. You're going to be uncomfortable when you grow. And you're right. This is an opportunity for the entire world to grow. But I like also how you mentioned that leaders step up. Mm-hmm. I didn't think about that. Like I think we always kind of think about leadership is after a bunch of experience doing one thing, you are the leader because you've done it for so long. People think it's experience. It isn't. It's stepping up when nobody else is, and you just do that whole look at us goofballs. We decided that this was supposed to be a professionally produced thing with lighting and all kinds of nope. We just
let's put on a show. We're just going to put on a show.
But, and you know what, from me looking in and watching you, Kristen, of like all the things that you've done and the fact that you launched this, I was like, look at her. Like she wanted to get her words out there, right? You speak to an audience, you inspire people. So rather than showing up, because you can't physically be there, you showed up here and this is what you did. And this carries your voice and it brings your words to people that need them right now. So I think that's amazing. And that's what we do. You know, if your purpose is in you and you need to get it out, you find a way to do it, right? Regardless of your circumstances.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I liked a couple of things that you said. Well, I liked everything that you said, but a couple of things that jumped out to me. The very first one was that you decided to pause.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me was, I saw we both went for our notebooks and our pens at the same time. I saw you.
That's a Mary Franism.
Yeah, that's it. We got to pause, like take a breath already, because I think when we get thrown into these situations, I think you have one of two things happens. Either you get paralyzed and you can't do anything, or you think, oh my God, I got to do this. I got to fix it. And without any kind of plan. But that idea of just being still, take a beat, figure out if in fact this is your moment, which that was the second thing. This is my moment. I loved that because, you know, I think sometimes it's important sometimes to see it as a moment, because sometimes people hesitate to jump into leadership roles because they're afraid of what that's going to mean long term. So just because you jump into a leadership role in this moment doesn't mean that you're, you know, committed to some major thing for the rest of your life. Take your moment, shine in it, and then see where it goes from there without worrying about what's next. And that's what you did.
Yeah, well, and I think back to your point about the pause, like I really can't take full credit for it. A lot of it is my husband, because he slows me down from acting crazy very often. It's like, I always imagine I'm like a balloon.
Come back.
Like floating out. He's like, come on back, Jen. Right? So he brings me back. So when I was like trying to figure it out, he's like, just relax. Like we have to process this. We have to figure out what this means. And like, why don't we take a day to not think about it? And then we can move forward. I was, you know, saying before that part of it is when you hear that your business is going to shut down, you become fearful, right? Because you're like, oh my God, what is going to happen? You start to worry, you start to get anxious. But we have an amazing community, and people have said to us, like, we will help you out, or what do you need, or how can we help? And so, you know, even though they may not be able to help, or it may not go the way that I thought in my head, regardless of all of that, I felt like people were there to take care of us. And we felt secure enough in how we act and the things that we've already been through that we'd get through it. I mean, I've said to a few business owners in the past few days, like, you've made it through 100% of your challenges so far, right? So here's another one, and you're going to make it through. Like, what that looks like on the other side, no one knows, but you're going to make it to the other side, because we all are. But, you know, it might just look a little different. So, so rather than acting out of that fear or that anxiety, we acted out of love, and we acted out of purpose. And we said, well, our purpose is to be here for the community and to do these things that we feel are important and matter. And that's what we're going to do. And then to your point about, you know, the leadership side of it, it's like, yes, like I don't have to do virtual classes for the rest of my life. That's totally fine. And if I do, that's great too. But, you know, no one expects it to be perfect. And I think so many of us don't do things because we want it to be perfect. But I was like, again, no one has expectations. If we even make an effort, people are just going to be happy that we tried. So let's just figure it out as we go, which is what we're still doing. So, or we're all doing, right?
Yeah. We talk a lot about not being married to an outcome. That's one of the things that, you know, in this whole idea of resilience is that you have to allow for an evolution, but you also have to get in the game. You have to start, you have to do something.
Yeah. Well, even starting our business, my husband and I, people would always say like, well, what's your long game? I'm like, I don't know, to wake up tomorrow and show up and I make things happen. Like, I don't know. But we just feel very confident in like the fact that we were brought to open up this studio. So that was another part of it is we've gone through other things. And I told you guys a little bit about, we were involved in a lawsuit. And I remember like going through this lawsuit, it was 12 months and it was not with a member, it was with another business person who sued us for being a nuisance. And that's a whole story that I won't get into the whole thing, but they were lawyers. So they had a lot of knowledge. They knew what they were doing. We had none. And I remember going through that, like we were mentally drained. We were financially drained. And I just was thinking like, I remember sitting there one day and being like, am I even doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Why am I doing this? And I remember thinking like, well, for some reason, we were brought here in this space to open up this studio to bring these people together. So worst case scenario, we've done what we were supposed to do. So we have to trust that if the universe brought us here, they're going to bring us through it, which is interesting because Kristen, when you did your keynote presentation, when I met you and you were talking about your kids and you were like, I just threw it up there and said, if this is what you gave me, then you're going to help me get through it. And that's how I felt. I was like, we were put in this situation, so we're going to get through it one way or another. But, we just need to do what we feel is the right thing, make the next right, best decision, and then just keep moving forward from there.
I love it. I love it. We've actually started dedicating, Mary Fran and I dedicate our Sunday shows for this to faith, because we realize that both of us have that as a strong tool in our resilience toolbox. And now more than ever is that being tested of, how much faith you really have. We're going to get out on the other side of it. I mean, like you said, you're going to get on the other side of it. We always say, are you going to be broken or brilliant? But you're going to be on the other side. You just got to make that choice. And it's not always easy every day. I mean, I'm sure you have your days too, where you're like, what the hell did I sign up for all this? But I think because you've got
so many times.
I mean, we talk about a tribe too as being one of the biggest success indicators if you're going to be brilliant, not broken. And you've built that. You've built the tribe around you. And the thing too is so that you're a tribe member for other people that come to you. And that's the part that we've been exploring a lot lately, is not just to surround yourself, but make sure you're reaching out and being that person for other people.
Yeah, I mean, I joke and say that we opened up a business so I could make friends, which is
That's the best kind of business to have, though. My gosh, how wonderful is that to be able to say that? That's great.
Yeah, I mean, our members they're amazing people, and my husband and I both have joy in hearing people's stories and learning about them, and it's been very interesting to meet people that, there's always so much more than what you see. And with the way our studio is and the fact that we are smaller, we really get to know those people. And it's very rewarding for us when they turn around and they say, well, this is what you've done for us, or this is what the community has done for us. And, even right now when people send us emails and they're like, hey, it's okay, you can charge me for my monthly membership. I'm taking your virtual classes. Like, we just want to support you. We hope you can open back up. Like, that means a lot to us, because it means that we've impacted them in some way. And at the same time, we're always sending emails out to them saying, hey, does anyone need anything? What can we do for you? Do you need different classes? Do you need different times? Without killing ourselves, trying to do the best we can to make everyone happy in some way, right?
That's awesome. Do we have, Mary Fran, she's our timekeeper. Do we have a couple of minutes just to go real quick over that one point of the needs? I wanted to see if we can work in real quick, switching gears more to the personal side. When you were talking at the Young Women's Empowerment thing that we met at, when you did your speech, you had the basic needs pyramid in there. Can you just touch for our listeners and our viewers on the thing that struck me so big, and it keeps hitting me during this crisis, is it Maslow? Is that who? That's the...
Yeah. Maslow's Hierarchy.
Look at me being smart for a second there.
Look at you. Wow.
I didn't even have a cue card, people. I didn't even have a cue card. But when you talked about that, you have to have those the foundational basic needs met before you can be successful. Can you just touch on that for a quick minute or two?
Yeah. So one of the things that I do is I work with a lot of women, teenage girls, and help them with confidence. And we do that through boxing and through some of our events. And it's something I'm very passionate about, because I think when we act out of confidence, we make better decisions, right? So the people that a lot of times when you look back at some of the decisions that you made, or some of the people you end up hanging out with, that you think weren't the best decisions, it often comes from the fact that you were lacking some sort of self-confidence, self-respect, those things. So the Maslow's Hierarchy of Needs is something that I actually learned about when I was teaching interpersonal communications. And what it is it talks about your physiological needs, your safety needs, love and belonging, your esteem, all the way up to self-actualization, which is wanting to better yourself. And the idea is that you have to kind of overcome some of those basic needs before you can build on them. So what's interesting right now, Kristen, is when we were talking about this before, I went back and I was like looking at my notes, and safety needs is something that, so it goes physiological needs and then safety needs. And safety needs is definitely something that right now is being challenged for everyone. So
sure.
rather than, and that's the struggle, right? Rather than working on making yourself better, you may right now just be scrambling together to pull together your safety needs. But as soon as you feel safe, as soon as you feel like you have what you need, then you can start moving into the other places. So it kind of goes along with what I was saying about acting out of fear or acting out of love. So if you're acting out of fear, that's because you feel like some of your needs aren't going to be met. And you're so worried about it. But as soon as you feel like those things are taken care of, like if you have a mortgage and your mortgage company says, don't worry about your mortgage for the month. And you're like, oh, okay, great. Now I can focus on these other things I was trying to do. But it's that same concept. Once those needs are met, you can keep moving forward. And part of where our fitness studio kind of fits in, or where I was hoping it fit in, is kind of in the love and belonging. So creating friendship, creating a sense of connection. And from there, that's how you can build into your esteem needs and then into self-actualization. So I felt like if people already have those basic needs met, they were moving into their connection, moving into their feeling better about themselves, their esteem needs. And that's really where we fit and where we were focusing all of our workouts and workshops and things that we were doing.
I love it. And it's just so important now. And I mean, we had Charles on talking about the brain development and all. It's just doing a lot of explaining for folks that are like me, that were like, what in the hell? Why am I crying in my Jeep at Costco? Like, what is the matter with me? And I figured it out after talking to Charles and then remembering your presentation. I'm like, oh my God, because I have my safety need is huge for me. And it just kept bouncing up and down with what, and I realized it's because how much news I watched, where my news sources were too, was a thing I had to tweak. How many times was I doing it? And then I had to, Mary Fran is always in my head. Isn't that a blessing all the time?
You love it.
With her, because she's got that whole, what can you do? What is something you can do right now? What are the things you can control? Okay, so now I go into it. If I have to go to the store, I look like a bank robber. I'm so masked up. I even wear my sunglasses, so like, what can I control? What can I not control? So anyway, I realized, and for a lot of people, I was in a tweet chat of creative people on Twitter, and they were like, why can't I create a thing? I can't write. And they were freaking out. And it all boils down to because their safety need wasn't being met. So they couldn't possibly get their brain into the other piece. So I love that. It's just so bizarre to me. Well, it's not bizarre. My journey's serendipitous like that we had just met. The world comes crashing down. And then it was stuff that you had taught that day that I was like, it's starting to come into my mind now of, oh, all right. See, Mary Fran, I'm not crazy. It's just it's the hierarchy of my brain.
It's the hierarchy of your needs. But there's that physiological component too, which I think is so nice about what you do, because that, the whole idea of the exercise and raising the endorphins and the dopamine and all that, like all of that stuff fits together with those sort of emotional needs that we have, and we can address them in a couple of different ways. And you provide that for people.
Yeah. Well, that was always what exercise was for me. So, back in my soccer days when I played more competitively, that was always my release. It was something that made me happy. And Kristen, funny enough, you actually encouraged me to join an adult soccer league, although it's not happening right now. But you were talking about how, you were like, I'm just going to go kick the ball at the field. That's going to make me feel better. Yeah. So I got information about a league nearby. My husband's like, go do it. It's going to make you feel better. And I was like, yes. And then I bought new cleats, and then now we don't.
And the world imploded.
But you're ready.
You'll get there.
I was just up there yesterday. I had not been up to the park since all this started to kick a ball around. And I realized over the weekend, I'm like, what is the matter with me? I said to the kids, take care of the dogs. I'm going up for half an hour. And I was in that hockey rink just kicking that ball, and it made the biggest difference in the world.
Well, I have not kicked a ball lately, so
you can go
there's that. But I do go. But I have been walking religiously and doing all those things. So just to keep to keep the whole everything moving along there.
Yeah, well, and that's why I said I had to keep doing some sort of classes for people, because for all of us, we need it. And I always say to all of our members, like, give this time to yourself. You deserve it. So give yourself an hour and say, this is what I'm going to do for my hour. And don't feel bad about it. And don't, be worried about other things. Stay in the moment, stay with me, use that hour, get everything you need out of it. And then you're going to feel better in the end. So, and everyone always does, right? It's hard to wake up, it's hard to get there sometimes. For them, I'm like, look, you can wear your pajamas, you can turn the video off, we're not even going to see you. Just roll on over, stand up, and just do it.
And there you are. Oh, well, this has been awesome. I hate to have to wrap it up, but where can everybody find you? Because I know that now they're going to want to go out, and where can they get these classes? So give us all the how to hound you down now.
Sure. So our website is fuelcyclefitness.com. So you can check out our website. There is a link that says virtual classes. And then when you go to the virtual class page, you can see replays, or you can sign up for our regular classes. And just to note, we are offering all of our classes as pay as you wish. So we don't want to be any more of a burden on anyone if you're, going through financial issues right now. So it's just pay as you wish. And then our Instagram is at FuelCycleFit, and my personal Instagram is at Crompton. So you can find me at any of those places.
Awesome. I'll put all those links in on, once this airs, I'll go in and edit that, and it'll be on the YouTube when we upload there. And then on the new podcast that's coming out too.
Right? Yeah. And I just want to say thank you to you for making it easy now with these virtual classes and with the way you've constructed this to make people like me, to give us an opportunity to maybe do something like that. I mean, I haven't done a class in such a long time, and it's a great time to try that. So I hope our viewers and listeners will take advantage of this, because it's a great opportunity.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Well, there's another episode of Brilliantly Resilient Live. We will catch you next time. Thanks so much for watching and listening.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.